Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am going live on a couple different platforms. Let me share that out. If you are an author or you want to be an author, then go ahead and add your book's topic into the chat. And if you have your link handy, go ahead and add that as well. Do I have lipstick on my teeth? Okay. All right, so today is release day for my fourth book, Profitable Publishing with Pre-Orders, and I'm going to be sharing some of the reasons why I focus on profitable publishing and why you should too. And so if you haven't already grabbed a copy of the book, then please consider doing that, and you can grab it at the link in the description of this video. And so I have two versions. I would love for you to grab the version over on Amazon. I know I typically don't say that, but I would love for you to grab the version over on Amazon. It's the black and white copy. And I want to get those Amazon juices flowing. We know that the Amazon algorithm needs to, you got to get stuff going when your book first comes out. And also, some folks have already purchased. So if you have already grabbed your copy, whether you've grabbed it on my site or over on Amazon, let me get my window with the comments so I can see what y'all are saying. Then put got my copy in the chat, because I actually was looking at the listing, because you of course want to always check your listings after they go live on whatever platform you are publishing to, whether it's your website, whether it is Amazon, whether it's Ingram Spark, the different distribution platforms. Once they get going, you always want to check it out. And so when I was looking, I saw that the book is #1 hot new release in its category so far. So I'll pull that up on the screen and let y'all check that out. But so thank you so much for those of you who have purchased over there. And if you're like, I would rather the color copy, that's the one that I added my sticky flags to, then you can grab that copy at the link in the description of this video as well. And so just to kind of give you a preview of that, and I'll be using this as reference today because I'm just so excited to have my processes in a kind of like a bite-sized documented piece that I can just say, oh, here you go. So today, like I said, we're talking about profitable publishing, and drop your link to your book in the chat, and or just let us know what your book is about. If you haven't written your book yet, that's totally fine. It's good to kind of plant those seeds. And my book is about pre-orders, and so you may or may not know, but one of the best ways to kind of get the kind of the best ways to plant the seed and let people know that you are working on something is to actually start talking about it. And so it's okay to talk about your book before you've written it. It's okay to talk about your book before you've released it. All of that is good. So I'm going to share this out over on Facebook to restream it into my Facebook group. If you're not a member there, go ahead and join Sell More Books, and I'll add the link to that in the description as well. But today, I want to focus on profitable publishing. And so you may have seen a shift if you've been following me for a while, or even just the last couple of months. I know I have a ton of new followers. The shift really to focus on prioritizing profit. And as we know, life is lifing in general, and outside in the world, things are happening. And you really want to put yourself in position to make sure that you have multiple streams of income. We hear this, we see it, but we want to make sure that we are actually doers of that. And it's also something where you want to, I'm sorry if you hear my mom in the background, she's manning the fort with the little one. We've entered the two stage. I won't call it terrible, terrific twos. So you really want to make sure that you are having streams of income that are not all reliant on you actually doing something each and every time. And so books are a great way to do that, but you have to set up your book properly in order to make sure that it's generating that income for you and that it's not just sucking the life out of your bank account, because books can also be very draining if you don't have certain things in place. And if you are just relying on book sales and not necessarily focusing on, and I'm going to adjust this was off center. Okay. If you are focusing only on royalties from book sales as opposed to actually thinking about other things you can sell outside of the book. And so if you're just not joining, go ahead and add your book topic to the chat, because you may have someone here who actually is interested in your book topic. So, all right. Today we're going to be talking about profitable publishing, and I have my notes over to the side because I want to make sure I stay on task. But one thing that I want to kind of clear the air about beforehand is the fact that as authors, it can feel kind of weird or icky, or you might feel kind of it might be off-putting for you to discuss money from your books or making money from your books. And as someone who works with authors who are I'm going to say some of the hardest people to to convince that you're not a scammer. Just because there are so many scammers, there's so many book marketers that are scammers. There's so many terrible people who are supporting people with publishing who just don't do a good job at it, or they just are unscrupulous, or they lack integrity. So there's a rightful reason why you should be very persnickety. You should be very particular about the people that you work with when it comes to your publishing. And so I say all that to say, when it comes to profit on the flip side of that, it can feel kind of like, oh, well, should I really be talking about profit as an author? Should I really be focused on how much money I'm making as an author? And there's also this pervasive concern that, oh, you're not going to make any money as an author. I was over on Threads, and I'm going to try to find the stat for you, of someone mentioning that on average, self-published authors make $2,000 to $3,000 from their books in royalties, like ever in their lifetime. And I'm not sure if that was the lifetime of each book or the lifetime of the course of all their books. Regardless, that's not something that's sustainable. That's not something that can even help you really cover the cost of editing for one book if you are someone who writes a book that has a lot of words in it. I know I have a lot of romance authors that follow me, and they obviously, if you're writing a 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 word novel, which I don't even know how y'all do that, so shout out to y'all. But if you're doing that, then that 2,500 is gone in a heartbeat when it comes to your editing. And so it can feel as if you shouldn't be focusing on profit. It can feel as if like you should just want to write your book just to write your book, or it can feel as if you are not someone who has the ability to access profit in your book business, which I want to flip that on its head. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, because I believe that authors are the keepers of knowledge. I believe that authors, and I say authors, I'm an author as well. This is my fourth book, my fourth public book that has my name on it. I have some pen name books as well. But authors are the people who bring other things into other spaces. They allow people to be able to travel to places that they would have never traveled to before. And, sorry, I think I hear my son coming up the stairs. Um, so they really unlock the doors to places that you wouldn't previously been able to travel to. And whether that's like mentally or physically, because your book can travel places you've never been to. For example, my second book, The Daniel Fast 21 Day Food and Faith Journal, has gone to Uganda. Hi. It has gone to Australia. I've never been to either of these places before. And hi, you all can't see him because he's too low. But it's been something where your book can be in different destinations without you even having to be there. And your book can open doors for you to actually go to those places virtually or even physically. And so when it comes to prioritizing profit, yes, sir? You want the light off? Well, I have to keep it on for the video, okay? So when it comes to prioritizing profit, you have to think about, it's not just you hoarding money. It's not you being someone who is just money hungry. It's more so you are opening doors for other people. Thank you. You're opening doors for other people. You are making it so that you can have someone who may not ever experience the things you experience to be able to have access to those things because you put it in a book. And for me, I'm going to talk about pre-orders at length for as long as it makes sense to, because it's just something that helped me to be able to publish my books, and I've seen the power of it with my author clients that I work with. And so that's my spiel, but let's get into why I prioritize profit. And so also do some giveaways. And so if you're watching on replay, at #replay, I'll also take you into account for folks who respond within the first, I'll say 24 hours, just to be fair, for people who are here live. And so before I get into that, I didn't introduce myself, but I am Ashley, and I'm the owner of Shep Publishing. I am a 4-time best-selling author, and I support authors to publish profitably with efficient and effective marketing strategies. And so our goal is to sell more books, reach more readers, make more money, and change more lives, just to kind of simplify that. And so I offer done-for-you services. I also offer coaching with you to work alongside you if you are needing some support in that way. And then I also provide DIY options. So if you are looking to kind of navigate it, but with support, then I do that with async support. So basically where you're self-paced. So the first reason why I prioritize profit is to really focus on gaining confidence and belief in myself. And so when I first became an author, I didn't really have this as an issue. So my first book is for new moms. It's called New Mom Thoughts, Real Questions for Moms with Real Feelings. And it was written because I needed the book. I didn't find the things that I wanted out in the world. I was dealing with some like unmet expectations from motherhood. Well, not motherhood, from like delivery, pretty much delivery. And so I was looking for resources and I couldn't find what I needed. And so I ended up doing a journal writing challenge with Crystal Swain Bates. She's one of my mentors, and I mentioned her in the book. And so if you have your book, you can follow along with me on page 8. And so I talk about how I used pre-orders to be able to publish my first book because I had just had a baby. My oldest, not that one. I had just had a baby and the pandemic was starting, and I had a $5,000 pay cut from having a baby. And so I couldn't find the resources that I needed in book form. And I had done the challenge with Crystal Swain Bates, and I said, okay, well, let me write the book myself. And so did the work, did the research, went through the process, and made $1,400 with my first pre-order. And so during that time period, I was also in the process of publishing a separate book for the Daniel Fast. And so that one I worked with a book publishing consultant, Crystal Swain Bates to be able to bring that book to life. And so that book was already in the works, and then this new book introduced that. And so for the first book, I did $1,400 in 6 weeks, and then for the second book, I did $800 in 10 days. And so less money, but shorter time frame. And so that taught me a couple things that I talk about this is in the introduction part of the book. Well, actually, no, I think I go deeper into that into chapter 2, but I give kind of a little bit of blurb in the beginning to kind of give the background and then circle back to go deeper. Anyway, I say all that to say there are so many authors who experience imposter syndrome, which I also talk about in the book in chapters 3 and 4, and who experience self-doubt and who really question, is somebody going to buy my book? So will people buy my book? I have a whole section on that because I know it's such an issue. And when you prioritize profit and you prioritize pre-orders with that profit, then you're actually able to silence that imposter syndrome because people are actively paying you to make money. They're actively paying, I'm sorry, not paying you to make money. They're actively paying you to buy your book. And when that happens, obviously, if someone trusts you with their money, especially now, if someone trusts you with your money, and thank you to those folks who pre-ordered this book, who did the book bundles, who signed up for my courses, my programs that are all tied to this. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Especially when people are able to, or people are willing to support you in that way and not just say, oh, I want to grab a copy, but they actually put their money where their mouth is, then that shows you that, okay, these people believe in you. They want to see you to be successful, and you have the ability to be able to tap into that with pre-orders. And so that really helps the belief because it's not just you who's like trying to figure something out in your head. It's not you tiddling away on the computer writing this draft that no one else has seen or only your beta readers have seen. You actually are putting it into place of people who are saying, sight unseen, I believe in what you're doing and I want to pay for it and I want to get it. That does wonders for your psyche and wonders for your imposter syndrome because you are able to have that validation sooner. And of course, you want to tie that in with things like beta readers, like I mentioned. But with my first launch, I didn't have a choice because I needed a book. I needed that was the modality that I picked as a new mom of like, okay, I can manage using a book. I didn't have time to do other options. Then later with other books, I did have some imposter syndrome. But once again, pre-orders really squashed that for me because obviously people are paying for this thing. And so I kind of have, I don't want to say beat with it. I don't want to say that, but you get the point with that one. And so once again, I want to encourage you, if you don't believe in yourself, then other people are not going to believe in you. And so if you don't believe that your book is good enough, then other people are not going to believe that your book is good enough. And obviously you need people to buy your book because that's likely the whole reason why you're writing it is to get book sales, to get royalties, to get your book out there. And so that belief starts with you. And then the second reason why I prioritize profit is because I am someone who believes that I don't want to create another job. I don't want to create another situation where I am having to stress myself out with the things that I am doing that are supposed to be passion projects or that are supposed to be things that pour back into me. And I also don't want to have clients who are stressed out because that defeats the purpose. I am about creating income streams to be able to give you that freedom and flexibility to hire someone to help you, to have somebody do your lawn care, to have somebody to pick out your groceries for you, or to even like have the freedom to not have to work consistently all the time because you have income coming in. And with that, so I want to talk to you about what that looks like when you are prioritizing profit and what it looks like when you're not. And so this is on page 39 of the book. So I give some examples of what to watch out for. It's really shift your mind, because this is a mindset shift from what is typically shared in the author community. And so not prioritizing profit looks like writing your book without a plan for marketing. Assuming that publishing your book automatically means that you're going to get book sales, and sadly it doesn't. There are over 4 million books that are published each year. So just releasing a book doesn't mean you're automatically going to get book sales. Or not having a strategy for ongoing sales. There are tons of times where authors think, okay, I just got to sell this many books by this date, or I just need to sell this many books, and then after that, like, it'll kind of sell itself. You still have to have some ongoing plans for ongoing marketing. You don't want to just focus all your sales at the beginning. And especially if you're selling on Amazon, you don't want to have all your sales come on the beginning, on launch day, launch week, and then they just fall off the face of the earth. That decreases the chance that the Amazon algorithm will push you out to other folks to buy your book. And then assuming everyone is your audience. This is something I talk about as well, is everyone's not your reader, and that's okay. Everybody doesn't have to be your audience. Everybody doesn't have to be the ideal customer for your book. There's going to be times where you have other people, or no, I'm sorry. There are going to be times where you really want to focus on, let me back up. You really want to focus on your ideal reader. When you do that, it once again decreases that imposter syndrome. It makes it easier to sell to people, because those people are already there and they're already interested in what it is that you have to say, because they've already been tuned into that thing. So, for example, when I wrote my first book for new moms, I wasn't trying to sell it to people that didn't have children. I wasn't trying to sell it to dads. Anybody that didn't fit the new mom, a first-time mom, that was the audience. And it's a smaller audience, but it was big enough for me to sell. I think I did 200 copies in the first 2 months. And then I haven't checked how many it sold since then. But you have to really be crystal clear and really have tunnel vision on who your book is for. And that makes it infinitely easier to make a profit, because if you're only talking to those people are already interested in what you have to say, and they're going to be more likely to gravitate towards you with that. And so I hear from time to time, oh, well, my significant other or my family or my friends didn't buy my book. So support can look like a lot of different ways. So for example, today I put up a post that said, if you would like to support for launch week, and I sent out an email as well, then you can share this post. You can share this post. You can share these graphics that I made. You can leave a review, because I have beta readers who they didn't purchase the book, but they are open to leave a review because they read the book. And then I had one other option. I don't remember what the third one was. I had another option. And then I forgot. I was like, oh, I didn't even put buy the book, because that wasn't really my goal with that post. It was that I wanted other people who hadn't necessarily purchased the book or really hadn't planned on buying the book to be able to support that way, or just were like, I've seen your journey and I want to support you. So support can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't always have to be just focusing on buying your book. Okay, so those are ways to not prioritize profit. These are ways to prioritize profit. And so having confidence in your marketing. When you have a clear plan in place, when you work with someone like myself or other reputable book marketers or other people who are responsible in terms of supporting fellow indie authors, then you have a sense of comfort and you're not stressed or panicked about, is this going to work? Now, of course, marketing's not like a one size fits all, and you have to be knowledgeable about the sales process, of course, as well. But when you are not scrambling, you're not trying to figure out, what am I posting? What am I doing here? Like, is this going to work? Is this going to work because I haven't put any effort behind it? Not, is it going to work? Because you do have to wonder at some point, is it going to work? Because marketing is kind of, it depends each time. So there's not a guarantee. But not having that in place, and then what you should have. So having confidence in your marketing, being able to order those special editions, like the foil on the side, or like I did a color copy. So I've got the color copy, and then I've also got the black and white. So I had the flexibility to be able to have both options, because I had profit that could support it. So I have the proof that I ordered from Amazon, then Ingram, and then Lulu. So I had the ability to do some different versions with it. And then you're also able to embrace your audience, because you know who you're speaking to. They build community with you, and they look forward to what it is that you have to say. And then you can also focus on getting paid more than just a few dollars or cents per book, because if you are just focusing on the book sales and you're not looking at how much you get from each book sale, then that cuts down on the ability to make a profit, obviously. So, for example, I know it's a big thing to really look at your page reads on Amazon KDP and say, okay, well, I've had 10,000 page reads. And this is not to diminish that at all. That's amazing. That's phenomenal. And I too was excited about my page reads until I really looked at it and I was like, well, let me look and see how much I get paid for this. And so it's typically 0.004 cents per page. And that fluctuates because it depends on the KDP fund. So let's say you get 10,000 page reads. So if I multiply that, that's $40. Now, if your book is, let's say your book is 100 pages, that means you would have to get 100 people to buy your book and read the whole thing. Let's say your book is 200 pages, and in that case, you'd have to get 50 people. So taking that many people to buy your book, when in actuality, if you did other things that are profit producing, such as selling your book on your website, or such as selling things adjacent to your book or in addition to your book that are coordinated with your book, I'll say that. I talk about that in chapter 7. Um, you could make that back. You could make that $40 back much quicker than having to get 10,000 page reads. And now, if you're a romance author or you're in a genre that has a ton of pages per book and it's working for you because you have the followers and you have the people who are tied into that, then okay, that message is not for you. But if you're a nonfiction author, if you're a children's book author, if you're an author of a book that's less than about 200 pages or even less than that, then focusing on page reads is not going to be the fastest track to profit for you. And even looking at book sales, we know that Amazon takes a pretty considerable cut of your book. And that's because they're doing distribution, they're printing, they're handling customer service. And so I hear people say, okay, well, that's not, they take all your money. But honestly, if you're not going to have them do it, someone else has to do it. So it's either going to be you or it's going to be a different platform. At the same time, I, of course, focus on selling on multiple platforms, and I share in the book which platform I prioritize. And when you do that, then you don't have to stress about, oh, let me check my KDP dashboard 50 times a day, or let me make sure that I have done XYZ so that it shows up on KDP. When you prioritize profit and you prioritize your website, for example, then you have the flexibility to not be stressed out about those types of things. All right, let me know if this is making sense to you in the comments by dropping a 1 or whatever comments you want to add. So, all right. And then not the last reason, but the third reason I'm going to talk about today, why I prioritize profit, is because when you think about it, success costs something. I'm going to say that again. Success costs something. So whether that looks like costing you time to learn the skill, because marketing and sales is a learnable skill. This is something my coaches have said. Actually, none of the coaches that I work with have gone to school for marketing or sales. Now that I think about it, none of them. They're all self-taught. And I am self-taught as well. Like, I have a background in education, curriculum and instruction, a minor in Spanish. Like, I have taught myself how to market and sell books and to support my authors to do the same. And so when you are thinking about ways to be successful, you're going to spend something. You're either going to spend your time to learn a skill if you are doing it yourself. So whether you're taking a course and you're investing in the course, whether it's free or paid, you're taking time to spend to learn how to do that thing. If you are doing your money, so if you're spending money, then that's a trade-off that you're giving. Typically, when you spend money on something, for example, if you spend money on my book, then thank you, of course. But if you spend money on my book, for example, you are spending money to be able to speed up the process. So instead of it taking you years to learn how to do something, you can learn how to do it in however long it takes you to read this book. It's about 200 pages. Or take my course or sign up for a VIP day. And so success costs something. So you either have to decide, can I afford to do this solo and DIY it and figure things out on the way? Or am I going to invest in myself to be able to get this done quicker so that I have a lower opportunity cost? And let me take a step back and talk about that. So opportunity cost is basically the trade-off for having done something. So your trade-off for spending time means that you get to save money. You're typically, if you're investing in the right type of time, your trade-off for spending money is that it takes less time. And so you have to decide which one are you going to spend. And with both of these, you're going to spend energy. I used to say you need to spend time, money, or energy. But honestly, with the energy, you're going to have to spend that on both of them. Because if you're spending money, you want to make sure the person you're investing with is a good option and make sure that they are vetted and that they are going to get you the results that you're looking for. If you're going to spend time, then you're spending the energy trying to find things to piece together across the internet, or deciding what course to take, or time asking questions to fully vet someone, things of that sort, which you should vet anybody regardless. But both of those are going to be things that lead to your success if you are doing it strategically. And so when it comes to publishing, when it comes to profitable publishing, if the goal is to get to the money, or the goal is to get to the income to be able to use the money to transform lives or to be able to support your goals or to donate, whatever the case may be, then you have to decide how you're going to spend your currency. Are you going to spend your time researching? Are you going to spend your time taking that course that's 10 hours? Are you going to spend time working with somebody who is a professional who's done this before? You have to decide what that's going to look like for you. And the beauty of having a profit is that you can decide either way. So if you are saying, okay, I want to spend time to learn how to do this thing, if you have profit in your book business, then that means that's less time that you're having to actively sell stuff, because you have kind of made enough to pay yourself for that time to spend investing in that thing. And so, for example, when I did my previous launch for my course, Preorder Profit, my group coaching program, Preorder Profits, because I had a pretty good launch, I was able to spend more of the time focusing on the books. So I didn't have to worry about income for a couple months, because I was able to increase my income through enrollments for my group coaching program. And then on the flip side, if you're someone who's like, I need a fast result, then you are investing the income to be able to expedite the process of that success. So let me know if this is making sense to you. I want to check my notes because sometimes I go off track. But this is another thing. So over on Threads, I love Threads. Y'all need to be on Threads if you're not. It's a very low effort platform where you can easily find your readers. So someone on Threads mentioned they were talking about something, and I was commenting because it's very typical to insert yourself into a conversation on Threads. It's like a big piggyback, but not like an annoying piggyback way. Someone mentioned, okay, so they asked me like, okay, how did you do 10K in your previous book launch? So this one, I was talking about this one. So how did you do 10K in sales in your previous book launch? And I've talked about this at length, and I have a case study of the book launch before this that walks through the entire process. And I said, well, okay, my book is actually out today, and I talked through the process there. And then also here are some YouTube links of things I've talked about, because they were looking like for a blog or something. And so I said, oh, okay, actually I need to get back on my blogging. But for now, here's some YouTube videos. And they were like, okay, well, are these strategies that you have to like buy the next thing in order to actually get results? And I took a moment to respond, because as I mentioned earlier, authors are very critical about, is this a scam? Is this a scam? And rightfully so, because there's a ton of scammers in the publishing industry. And there's a ton of terrible marketers in the publishing industry. Anyway, story for another day. So I won't say terrible, unscrupulous, like people who are scammers, you get what I'm saying. And I said, at first I was like, well, no, like you can do all the steps in the book and you can be successful. So for example, chapters 5 through, I want to say 12. Yeah, 5 through 12. Give you the exact step by step. And then like on the opposite sides of things, it shows you how to accelerate the process or get prepared for the process. And so the entire thing is there. So yes, there are some people who will just need the book. They will spend their $20 at the time of this recording to grab the book, and then they'll be successful. And then there's other people who will need to work with me in a course where they need to see the videos, they need to see the audios, they need to hear me say certain things to them in order for them to be successful on the next level. And then there's other people who are like, I want to get this done within 2 days or a day. Because if I do a VIP day with them, it's 4 to 6 hours. And then once we finish up their deliverables, once they get feedback, it's within the next couple days. And that's fine. People have different levels that they need. So being an educator has shown me that some people just need this little bit of help. Some people don't need any help. Some people need all the help. And that's fine. You're paying for, when people say, okay, well, I want to get all this information without having the next step, I can't automatically say, yes, this is going to work for you, because I don't know you in particular. For this person, I hadn't talked to them before. And I also don't know anything about your book. So I don't ever guarantee and say, oh yeah, you only need the book. You only need XYZ. I don't know where you are. And so I say that because it can feel, from what I see online, there's some people who believe all courses are scams, or there's some people who believe that like charging for information is a scam, because I could just Google that. Okay, you very well can Google that if you want to Google that. However, what you Google may or may not be in alignment with what you're actually looking for. What you Google isn't tailored to you. What you Google is not going to, and it might be Chatty, because you might be looking at Chatty now. Whatever Chatty tells you sometimes isn't accurate. Sometimes it's not the best information. Other times you are choosing something that's aligned to someone else, or that's trained for traditionally published authors, or that's trained for someone who has input that information, because obviously the information has to come from somewhere. You're not working with someone who knows your situation, who has spent time working with you, understands your personality, your quirks, who's going to make suggestions about, well, maybe you shouldn't be on TikTok. Because I've told authors that, like, maybe you shouldn't be on TikTok because it's not good for your psyche, for you in particular. Or maybe you shouldn't focus on being on social media in general. Maybe you need to focus on podcasts, or you need to focus on emails. That's the thing you're not going to get from a book, even though this book is wonderful. You're not going to get that personalized advice. And so you're not going to get that from a course. You're going to get that with working from someone one-on-one with that, in that case. So say all that to say, regardless of the path that you choose, understand what you're getting in that path. So when you think about success costing something, you have to really vet and understand yourself and understand the level of access that you're getting and align that with what it is that you are wanting. And so, for example, even if you, so going back to the $20 book. So let's say you buy this book, you spend $20. That's the price on Amazon. If you get it on my site, it's $25 because it's in color. And I'm adding a few extra perks on my site. But anyway, let's say you spend $20 on this book. So the strategies within this, even if you just follow one or two strategies, you can 10x, 100x, 1000x your investment. And if that's not worth it to you, then I don't know what to tell you. So I say all that to say, don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Don't be afraid to trust that the success other people have can be within your realm of possibility. Of course, I'm not saying that it's a guarantee. All the disclaimers, and I include those in the book. However, don't just assume just because someone said, oh, I made this amount of money or I've sold this amount of books, that they're automatically a scammer, because some of us are not scammers. Everything can be a lie. So, all right, let me check the chat. Okay. Nothing there. We're good. All right. And then, and just for reference, like with me, when I choose to work with a coach or I choose to work with someone, I look at the things I've said. So I look at the level of access. I look at what aligns with my goals. I look at and see what it is I'm trying to implement. Have they done that thing? I talk to people. I ask for references. And then I see, okay, the stuff I've gotten from them before, their free stuff, if I've been able to make money with their free stuff, I can only imagine what their paid stuff is going to do for me. So, and so for example, one of my coaches, I haven't checked lately, but from the investments that I made with her, I've 21x'd my investment with her. Another coach, I made back my investment within a week of completing the program. And these are like 5-figure investments. And so, not for the first one. The first one was a culmination of leading up to the 5 figures. Not, I'm saying, anyway, yes. You get what I'm saying. So over time, I've been able to recoup my costs. And so just be mindful that whatever this success is that you're looking for, you can have it, but you have to make the investment in yourself, whether it's the time or the money. So, all right, that is my spiel for today. I do want to share with you the bestseller status. Let me make sure it's on the right screen. And okay, this is doing this screen. So let me switch displays for you. Bring it on over. I'm starting at bestseller, hot new release. My bad. Hot new release. So right now it is on hot new release on Amazon. And so it was released today. Well, I had to do it a little earlier, but it was released for today. So I'm pumping it today. And yeah, so if you haven't grabbed your copy, then you can grab it over on Amazon at the link in this description. Or if you want the color copy, then you can head to the link in the description as well, and then you'll be able to grab that there. So, all right, let me switch back to this screen. And so once again, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for the ways in which you have just kind of rallied behind me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to what this book can be and how it's going to help authors like you to be able to publish profitably. So have a good one.